Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, here to the Nerd Entertainment Network. I'm your host, Hunter Chambliss. This is the HorrorScope live show. I am joined by my co-host, Notorious Russell Howell. How's it going, man?
Good, man. Really glad to get this back jump started again. I think we've been on and off about this thing for a while, so it's good to put pen to paper and get this thing rolling, get the ball moving.
Definitely. Today's movie is my pick, which is 2011's Cabin in the Woods, directed by Drew Goddard, written and produced by Joss Whedon. Um, this is a movie that deconstructs horror movies, and it might be one of my favorite horror movies of the decade, of the 2010s.
Yeah, I mean, I remember watching this film. It took actually another rewatch to actually like the movie
Yeah.
because I didn't see where the twist was going. I think that's what was so unique about it at the time, and I guess I kind of didn't appreciate it when I was seeing it in the theater as opposed to kind of revisiting it there later on. But yeah, I definitely enjoy the film, and I think it holds up, and I think it's just a fun film to revisit.
Oh yeah, definitely. I saw this movie on Netflix one night. I was just scrolling through Netflix, came across it, and ended up really loving it. I didn't see it in the theaters when it came out, so I've seen it at least 3 or 4 times at this point. So let's get into the rundown summary. I'm not going to go through every single piece of this movie, but I'm just going to give you kind of what the movie is about. So it follows, I believe, 5 teens. You've got Dana, Kurt, Jules, Marty, and Holden. They all go to this cabin in the woods, hence the title. And what's cool about it is it's constructed through this lab. I believe it's underneath tunnels where they control the actions of.
It's almost like the Hunger Games, pretty much.
It is like the Hunger Games.
It's a horror version of the Hunger Games, because obviously revisiting those 4 movies, I think there's a lot of parallels between it. A lot of things that I think Hunger Games. Well, the Hunger Games was a book series, but I'm saying but it to me, it's still, when you're watching a movie, it borrowed tropes from that you would see in Cabin in the Woods. So that's
Yeah, so pretty much these teens go to the cabin in the woods for a summer vacation, and the organization, which I believe is called, let me see if I can find it. I think it's just called the Lab. You've got Gary Sutton and Steve Henley, played by Bradley Whitford and Richard Jenkins. I'm sorry. They might be the best part of the movie to me. Every time they're on screen, they just bring the comedy. They have real good chemistry with each other. And just the way the dialogue between these two characters is always so funny to me.
Well, yeah, I mean, Bradley Whitford, obviously, know him from the beginning of getting his career in Billy Madison. And then obviously the latest, I think, that he was in that people really recognize was Get Out.
Get Out, yep.
And then Richard Jenkins has obviously been around everywhere. Step Brothers, he's Mr. Doback in Step Brothers. He's in The Shape of Water. I mean, he's pretty much everywhere. But very good chemistry these two characters have. And I think it does, it really makes this movie comedic horror, with like a little slash of like sci-fi maybe kind of in it. But overall, like I said, yeah, the two characters have really good chemistry, and it really helps the comedic relief of the film.
Yeah, definitely. So I actually brought up the summary page. I'm just going to read this real quick. When 5 college students, Kristen Connolly, Chris Hemsworth, Anna Hutcherson, Franz Kranz, and Jesse Williams arrive at a remote forest cabin for a little vacation. Little do they expect the horrors that wait for them. One by one, the youths fall victim to backwoods zombies. But there's another factor at play. 2 scientists, Richard Jenkins, Bradley Whitford, are manipulating the ghouls going on. But even as the body count rises, there is yet more work than meets the eye.
Yeah, and because obviously what we see behind the scenes is they actually have poles and like a betting almost. Like it's almost like a they're betting on this, like, I want to say it's like almost like Battle Royale, where you have all these people pitted against each other almost, but this is just like where they're controlling what they're pitted against.
And the whole idea about it is they have to please the gods, as they say, by sacrificing 5 victims
Yeah.
every year, and if not, then pretty much the end of the world is going to happen.
And they all fall in the different tropes. You have your jock, you have your stoner, you have your virgin.
Virgin,
Yeah.
which Marty might be my favorite character of the teens.
Marty is my favorite character, I think, just because of the fact he reminds me of Randy from Scream. It's pretty much like
Yes.
everything Marty says is pretty much what happens, or just kind of like if they would have just listened to him, they would have been fine. I kind of like that. I kind of like that. Like they just have all that useless knowledge that a lot of their, pretty much a lot of their friends don't listen to. Like, who's going to listen to this stoner? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But when we're first introduced to Marty, he has a bong in a coffee cup, and
I want one of those.
Yeah, he folds it in like an accordion. He folds it into a coffee cup. I mean, that's
he has a really funny line in that scene where he's like, "What? Bringing a bong to campus? Are you high?" I think you're muted.
My bad. Sorry, I had a cough. I don't want to go on camera. No, but that's cool. That's the beauty of like Marty's character. Like, yeah, he just really doesn't give a shit. But his actions and stuff like that, he can kind of like justify like and quickly, just like that. Oh well, he didn't have a bong. It's a cup. You know what I mean?
It's a cup.
Yeah.
I do love how in this movie, each of the characters start out as not your typical horror movie characters.
Yeah.
So like you have why am I forgetting her name? I believe it's played by Anna Hutcherson.
Okay.
I believe her name is. I did not do any research for this.
Is it Dana or Jules?
Yeah, Jules.
Yeah.
She starts off and she's not the typical slutty blonde.
Yeah.
Which again they make fun of that in the movie where they put chemicals in the hair dye that she buys.
Yeah.
So it makes her into that typical dumb blonde.
Yeah.
You've got Chris Hemsworth's character, Kurt, who's not just the jock. At the very beginning of the movie, you see that he's like, he's actually smart. Like he's going through and telling her what she should read for classes, things like that. But as the movie goes along and they go into the cabin, then they turn up the horror tropes, the virgin, the jock who wants to just pretty much beat down everybody in the cabin, the dumb blonde who makes out with a wolf head.
Yeah.
In a very weird scene, but
only could she make that scene sexy somehow. You know what I mean? Like just how
fair.
You know what I mean? Like just how sensual she was. I think is. I mean, obviously it's completely weird, but I mean, only she does a great job selling it and making it sexy.
Yeah. So yeah, we're just gonna kind of jumble around the plot a little bit. I do love how at the end of the movie you find out that the the director is played by Sigourney Weaver.
Yeah, which is always nice because she always pops up in random things. Like, she's the voice in Finding Dory. She plays the
seriously
at the aquarium when you hear talking on the ampli,
yeah,
I don't know what that one is.
The intercom.
It's Sigourney Weaver.
Oh wow.
Yeah, she's pretty much everywhere. But it's always good to have such acting legends like that pop up, especially when you're not expecting it. I think that's the beauty of it. And we should say that this is actually what kind of really jump-started Chris Hemsworth's career. I think
because this technically came out in 2009 before the release of the Thor movie.
It had gotten pushed back. It kept getting pushed back, and I think that's when it ended up coming out in 2011. But I think it was Joss Whedon who obviously produced. I think, right?
Yeah, he produced and co-wrote.
Co-wrote
with Drew Goddard.
But I think it was his eye that really caught Chris Hemsworth, and I think he really wanted him as part of the Thor as part of the the MCU. So that's what helped sell this too.
Speaking of the screenplay, I love how each of these characters you can relate to in some way.
Yeah.
And how each of the characters aren't traditionally the characters you would see in a horror film until much, much later in the movie.
Yeah, that's fair.
And how, really, if you really look at this movie, you can trace this movie back to pretty much every horror movie known to man.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and I think this is Drew Goddard's love letter to horror movies in general. I know,
Yeah.
you know, obviously talk about Scream being a love letter to the slasher genre. I think this encompasses everything, just the horror genre in general. Very broad, but there's so much under that umbrella of the horror genre that I think Drew Goddard really kind of like pays homage to. And I think it's fun, like to see all the different monsters and stuff like that is really cool. You know what I mean? You don't get to see, there's a lot of ones that we don't see, which I think is fun. But obviously that merman, I think that's probably one of the funniest scenes.
The merman is hilarious because it's a callback.
Yeah. Well, because they talk about it, and I think that's that's the funniest thing about it. They kind of make fun of it, and that's literally how the one guy dies. It's beautiful.
Bradley Whitford's character's like, "Oh, come on."
Yeah, and I just think it's fun. But you just think there's so many different characters, and I think they really have fun with the horror genre in this film.
Yeah, definitely. I'm looking up something real quick. Let me see if I can. There's a I know Heather Langenkamp, her husband
was on the not set or costumes or the design or whatever
he was a special effects designer.
Yeah, some of the monsters. I thought that was kind of cool because obviously Heather Langenkamp, Nancy from A Nightmare on Elm Street.
Nancy Thompson, yep.
Again, kind of just encompassing that horror genre, just kind of, you know, because you have your leading ladies from, you know, different films. Obviously, you have, you know, your Jamie Lee Curtis, you have your Heather Langenkamp, you know, obviously
Neve Campbell.
And I mean, I think to me, it's just kind of fun that they can kind of pay homage to it in a kind of like with us actually not even knowing about Heather Langenkamp, you know, husband
working
at all.
on it.
Yeah. So I think that's kind of cool.
So before we go into favorite moments, I do want to kind of talk about the ending. Where you just get a whole montage of just monster killing humans, pretty much. You get a giant ass snake at one point. You get a Pennywise reference with a clown on the bicycle. Yeah. You get the twins from The Shining. I think you get like it's like almost a Pinhead type character. Yeah. They're literally underneath the ground of the cabin is this lab where they have all different types of monsters and creatures.
Yeah, it's almost like it's like a vending machine of monsters, pretty much.
That's exactly what it is. It's a vending machine of monsters.
Yeah.
So if you're ready, we can go into favorite moments.
Yeah, that's fine.
Start with you.
Yeah, mine's just general. I think obviously anything with Marty in it, I think is just really funny. I just love his stoner, carefree attitude. But again, this is the guy that like his actions. If you kind of just hang with him the whole time, you guys will be fine. You know what I mean? But it's one of those ones where it's like, you know, it's funny because like in Scream, we were told that if you do drugs or drink, you die. And here he is doing drugs, but he's the one that's kind of like, you know, safe from all this impeccable danger and doom.
Well, because he's the only one that brought his own stash.
And I just think it's kind of funny because it kind of goes against what was set out in movies before that, even with like Friday the 13th and just in horror movies in general, with like, you know, sex and alcohol and drugs equal death, and like this guy could have drugs and kind of just be like the counter opposite of what, you know, you expect. So I like
he's
Marty's
survivor.
Yeah, and he's a survivor, and I kind of like that. I like how they kind of do that, where you would for sure think he would be one of the first ones to go.
It's kind of like in Scream, where they say the first rule is never have sex, and Cindy has, you know, sex with Billy, and then after she has sex with him, she realizes that he's a killer.
Yeah, but the other thing is like about that though is like I think deep down inside I don't think she really wanted to. I think she was more kind of pressured into it. So maybe that in itself maybe is kind of like she lost her virginity, but she didn't lose it willingly. Kind of, you know what I mean? Not like saying like, you know, unwillingly, but to me it's like I feel like he was pressured. He was way more wanting it than I think she was. You know what I mean?
Fair, yeah.
but like I like Marty's scenes, and then the other scenes I like at the end is like when they kind of open Pandora's box, so to speak, and just all hell runs loose for the
All
last like
hell breaks loose.
25 minutes, half hour of this film, and it's fun. The ending kind of leaves you like, holy shit, like when Chris Hemsworth character falls off. Was it the bike? Was he on a
Yeah.
bike?
So
Yeah. This is where we
I-
first see that,
Yep.
holy shit, there's something this whole entire world or whatever isn't real, because you see all the honeycombs and
you
stuff
actually
like that.
you actually see that at the beginning of the film.
Yeah, you do, but I'm
Because
saying
the
like
bird is flying.
the bird flies, yeah. But I'm saying like
Right.
you kind of, you don't pay really much attention to it again, I think, until it's called back to when Chris Hemsworth's
Yep.
character dies, and then you see like all this like honeycomb like grid or whatever. You're like, holy shit,
Yeah,
wait a minute,
it's like a grid.
This isn't real. Like, oh my
Mhm.
god, you know what I mean? And I think that there in itself is kind of like surprising, because this movie really takes you in a different direction you don't expect to go.
Yeah.
You're thinking Cabin in the Woods, like even when I saw it 10 years ago already,
Oh wow, it has been 10 years.
even when I saw it in the theater, like it was one of those ones where it's like, oh, this is gonna be a horror movie, literally Cabin in the Woods, no big deal. Horror movies, shit happens, blah blah blah, and that's it. But then they throw out all these different curveballs at you with the betting, like with the two scientists or whatever betting and having like an underground like gambling pool on who, like how these guys are gonna die, and they can like actually rig it. And it's like, you don't expect this stuff, and then on top of it, then at the end to see that that's how it is, that it's like a whole fake environment or whatever. I just think it's really fantastic. It just really is one of those surprises that you didn't see coming. At least I didn't when I saw it.
Yeah. So speaking of going into one of my favorite scenes, I'm going to try to screen share it real quick, because I do have a photo that I want to show you. I think you know what it is. Let's see. There we go. All right. So screen share. This one right here, the whiteboard.
Oh yeah, with all the different monsters and stuff like that. Yeah, like all the different monsters and stuff like that on there.
There we go. Yeah, you got like werewolves, alien beast, and then some weird ones like what is it, like dragon bat?
Yeah, they have jack-o'-lantern, giant,
jack-o'-lantern, sexy
unicorn.
Witches.
That's funny.
Which is hilarious.
Mummy, and then they have one it's Kevin. That's funny too.
Oh yeah, you have Kevin. I haven't noticed that before. I wonder if that's a Home Alone reference.
I don't know.
And then you got stuff like the Reanimated for Reanimator.
Yeah.
Just the whole idea of like these creatures exist, and there is a giant whiteboard where people can bet on what creature is going to come out to try to kill these teens.
Yeah.
Hilarious to me.
It's like I said, it's a Russian roulette of vending machine. It's pretty much like a wheel of death. You pretty much closing your eyes and you're picking something, and this is what happens. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's fun. Because you're like, holy shit, like what can possibly happen? And like you see like the back end of this film that all hell breaks loose, and like I said, Pandora's box is open, and it's like giant snakes. You have like that one guy that was like staring down the group of teens.
Yeah.
I can't think of it. He looked creepy looking. Wasn't he bald?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one with the razors with a face, right?
Yeah. Like I said, it's a fun overall film. Like, whereas like if you're watching it for the first time, you don't you don't expect to go down the way you're going, the tunnel that you're going down. And I think that's the beauty of it. Like I said, 10 years ago when I went and saw it, it was one of those ones where when you see something and it's not what you think it is, you kind of hate it. There's like that lashback at it. But visiting it and having seen it a couple times and doing a podcast with Chance on it and stuff like that, like you really do appreciate the film for what it is.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And here's why I thought that this movie would be the perfect one to kick off our reboot with.
Yeah.
Because it really is a love letter to horror.
Yeah, I mean, it encompasses everything. Like kind of what you said, like with the monsters, you look at the board. There's like, there's like Easter eggs for like different, horror films and stuff like that. You obviously have, like I said, Langenkamp's husband working on it, so it's a kind of like a nod to the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. You just have different things. I think it's kind of fun to just be in that type of environment, you know?
Yeah, definitely. So, any more favorite moments, favorite lines?
I would say honestly, like I said, the stuff with Marty, I pretty much I love, and I like that back half hour of the film. I like how that whole direction that goes with the monsters and all hell breaking loose to the end.
Yeah.
When they're being like sacrificed or whatever. I think
The one thing that we didn't. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
The one thing that we didn't talk about was the creatures actually hunting the teens.
Yeah.
It's the zombie redneck torture family.
Yeah,
which is very different than zombies.
Which is almost like Wrong Turn Meets The Hills Have Eyes type.
It is. Yep.
You know what I mean? Like with that, like the whole like
the bear trap on a chain.
Yeah, I mean, and again, creative ways to kind of torture people, and I think you know, and I don't know if that's maybe an homage to Saw too, on top of it, like with different like traps and stuff like that.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of different things going on, and there's a lot of Easter eggs from different horror movies of the the past, and I think it's kind of fun.
Yeah, I also love how in this movie, like the lab can control people's like emotions through pheromones.
Yeah,
I mean, it really shows up in the scene with Kurt and Jules.
Yeah,
when pretty much Kurt wants to have sex with her outside. And then she says, not out here. Then all you see is the fucking vent pop open and like pink pheromones come out.
Yeah, I mean, obviously.
And then you have like a spotlight that like.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's just so far fetched and funny that you have to just be entertained by it, and it's like it's like I said, it totally shouts out Hunger Games. You totally see a lot of Hunger Games stuff there, just because of the manipulation of the world that they're in. You're you're pushing the characters into the direction that you want them to go, and I just, like I said, when I initially saw this movie, I wasn't expecting that. Yeah,
me neither. So thoughts on our, I guess our leading girl, Dana, played by Kristen Connolly.
She's your Virgin-esque like good girl. I mean, she pretty much follows in the footsteps of Jamie Lee Curtis, of Nancy or Heather Langenkamp, and Neve Campbell. I mean, and I think it's a love. Again, if it's a love letter, it's paying homage to those type of leading women that are in those types of leading roles. To me, I think it's pretty much the same beat by beat. She's a wholesome person. She's like she has her head on her shoulders. She knows what she's doing. She's smart. She's intelligent. She's good looking. I mean, you have all the same tropes that if you look, from the horror movies of in the past. I mean, they follow all of them. You know what I mean? I think she could check off a lot of those boxes.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, but she was at one point seeing a teacher, right? Her college professor.
I'm pretty sure one of them was, yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was her. Yeah, because I remember her and the blonde were joking.
The blonde was talking,
at the beginning of the movie. Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought they said that they had slept together, which wouldn't have made her a virgin.
Well, wouldn't have made her a virgin, but to me, like, still, I guess still wholesome, like, still, like, a good girl, though. You wouldn't think like she would be deemed, you wouldn't expect her actions, you would expect them more from the blonde, I guess is what I'm saying. Like, the blonde is more of the sluttier character, just by how she dresses, how she acts, and stuff like that. That's who and the stereotypical, the cheerleader. That's the one that always lets loose and has fun and doesn't care about like who she sleeps with and stuff like that.
Tatum Riley and Scream.
Yeah, and so this character here to me is more, like I said, her character is more of the wholesome virgin-esque girl. And I mean, I forget if they said they slept together. I don't even remember. But I think if they did, then that kind of it nullifies what I said. But still, a wholesome character, I guess, is what I'm going for.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so pretty much at the end, the entire place is destroyed. You've got Bradley Whitford's character Steve getting eaten alive by a merman, which is hilarious. But the blood that comes out of the fin or whatever.
Yeah.
So the end of the film is Dana and Marty. I I believe it's Dana who kills the director, and then both Dana and Marty sit down, and you see a giant ass hand appear, breaks through the ground, destroys the lab, destroys the cabin, and potentially destroys the world. Like, holy crap, what an ending.
And they legit have a list on IMDb of horror films referencing Cabin in the Woods.
Wow, really?
Just to kind of shoot them off. They have Alien, The Shining, which you talked about, The Thing, Nosferatu,
The Ring, I know is one.
Night of the Living Dead, King Kong, Halloween, Evil Dead 2, Evil Dead, Wicker Man, Army of Darkness, American Psycho, Nightmare on Elm Street, obviously, which we met.
What's the American Psycho one?
Like I said, it's just the list I saw. Texas Chainsaw, Carrie, the Ring, Cube, the Mummy, the Reanimator. Obviously, we talked about the list. Creature from the Black Lagoon, which I remember we saw. Wasn't that one chasing Marty?
Yeah.
Okay, so that was the Creature from the Black Lagoon. Obviously, Hellraiser. We mentioned Pinhead. A Little Shop of Horrors. Obviously, It. Like Hunter mentioned with the clown, obviously paying homage to It. The Dark Knight of the Scarecrow, Blade 2, Silent Hill, Funny Games, Friday the 13th, Werewolf of London, Tarantula, The Faculty, Hills Have Eyes, which I kind of made allude to, The Blob, Night of the Demons, Amityville Horror, Waxwork, The Strangers, Blood Spattered Bride, 13 Ghosts, House on Haunted Hill, Chopping Mall, Scarecrows, The Devil Bat, Eight-Legged Freaks, Friday the 13th, Part 7, The New Blood. Obviously, kind of, I think, with the Attack of the 50-Foot Woman they have. Witches of Breastwick, Virus, Jack Frost, Black Christmas, Ghoulies 2, Reptilicus, Ghoulies, Tentacles, and Hobgoblins. So there's a lot of, different films, classics, and, cheesy popcorn flicks. But overall...
And there's also one on this whiteboard that I could see... referencing Harry Potter too.
Okay.
It says angry molesting tree.
Okay.
If you guys know Harry Potter, the Whomping Willow is a big tree that pretty much would just smack the shit out of anybody who comes near it.
Yeah. But
and then you got stuff like The Bride, which I think it could be either the horror movie, or it could be a Tarantino reference. The Bride from Kill Bill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or Frankenstein's Bride, isn't it?
Yeah, Bride of Frankenstein, yeah.
So, I mean, you have so many different ways to go about it. And I think that's what I like about it. It's just, like I said, it's just a love letter to the horror genre in general. And it's fun to rewatch it and try to see something that you didn't see the first couple watches. So,
yeah, definitely. This episode has been all over the place.
But that's like this movie. There's no consistency with this film. The film takes you in different directions, and I think when you're explaining things like this film, you have to kind of go all out different directions, just because of the fact that that's where the movie takes you. It's
Yeah, the one of the lines that I love in this movie is it's Chris Hemsworth's character is like, let's all stay together, stay connected. They pump him in the room full of gas, and he's like immediately turns, let's split up. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, again, that Hunger Games, they're controlling everything. This is what they want, and they're gonna try to get the ending that they want, and you're just along for the ride, pretty much. And it kind of sucks because you're rooting for these characters. You're like, yeah, come on. It sucks when one of them dies because of the fact that you're kind of rooting for all of them.
This is the one horror movie where you don't really want to see anyone die. Like Scream's another one where you love all the characters, so you don't want to see them get killed.
Yeah, I mean, obviously regardless, they still kill, or they kill them in sequels, but they kill some of the original guys, and it kind of sucks. But
yeah. So let's go into some of your favorite death scenes in this movie.
Death scene's the Merman. I think, honestly,
the Merman.
What can top that? I think the fact that they make fun of it, and you're thinking that's so bogus. What the hell are the odds of that shit ever coming back up? And then comes back up, and that's literally how you die. I think it's just it's too awesome.
See, to me, I would have to go with the what was it? Jules' death with the giant ass saw blade that comes out.
Yeah.
And then she is beheaded, and then he knocks on the door, and then tosses the head.
Yeah, I mean, again, a thing that you would see in horror films. I mean,
Yeah.
I remember the High Tension. I remember he cuts somebody's head off and throws it or whatever, throws it outside.
Yeah. All right, so if we don't have any more favorite moments, I guess it's time to get to the ratings. All right, so this will be out of 4 Cabin in the Woods. Russ? Sorry.
I'd go 3.5 cabin. So we're gonna
3.5 cabin.
3.5. The other cabin that has the roof fell off. So you have 3 full cabins, and you just have like a little bit of you don't have a roof on the other cabin.
I don't have a roof on the other one.
I mean, it's a fun film. It's not. I don't know. I'm not deeming it not worthy of being perfect. I mean, I think it's a fun film. I mean, when you think of other classics and stuff like that, there's a lot more better horror films. I think this one does completely revolutionize the horror genre. I mean, it changes it a lot. It's a love letter, and on top of it, I think it kind of changes the landscape of the horror genre. I mean, like even films that we had talked about before, with what the hell is the one that I love? It Follows. I think it's completely. I think it's one of the best horror films of the 20. I'll put that as the best of the 2010s. To me, just because of the fact that I like the whole original principle of it, the concept of it.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, you have something completely revolutionary. It completely, like, you use sex, which is a no-no in horror films, and you use that as the main main way to start the chain rolling of like people dying and stuff like that. I think that's super. I think it's a super brilliant concept. And I think Cabin in the Woods, I just think it kind of like, I feel like it gave creators and directors and stuff like that a little bit more like. I think it stretched the boundaries out a little bit of the horror genre. Like you could do things and it'd still be scary. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because if somebody mentioned before to you, like, oh yeah, we're gonna make a film about teens having sex and like this mysterious thing following you, really? Like, just that sounds stupid. You watch it, that movie's fucking scary.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just the way. I mean, it's just the way that the movie was made. It was made beautifully. It was like very crafted, very meticulously. And I think, like I said, this film here, Cabin in the Woods, I think is just one of the ones where I think it does push the horror genre while still paying homage to it, and I kind of respect it for that.
Yeah. So I'm going to give it a perfect 4 out of 4 cabins. This might be my favorite horror movie of the 2010s. Mm-hmm. The reason is it pays homage to horror films while being its completely original idea. Yeah. It turns the horror genre, the horror tropes that we love to talk about, on their head and explains to them why this could be happening. Yeah. And you could take that to different movies, different horror films you watch, and be like, well, I wonder if because of this and this and this in Cabin in the Woods, if this is happening in this horror film. Yeah. It makes it real fun to go back and rewatch horror films to be like, oh, well, now I see this trope, but now I can connect it back to Cabin in the Woods. It was an original idea with a love letter to horror from Drew Goddard and Joss Whedon. I absolutely love it. Mm-hmm. All right, so we have the return of the Horror Corner. Russ, you want to explain what your movie is going to be next week?
Yeah, I was just thinking about, I don't know, I think I got more into the Nightmare on Elm Street just because of the fact I think there's a Comic-Con coming in Pittsburgh in August. I think Robert Englund's going to be there, and it just got my head spinning. I was like, I kind of want to go. I wouldn't mind meeting him and taking a picture with him because to me, it's always been one of my favorite horror films, that and along with Halloween 1978. But I kind of want to do a sequel. I don't want to go with the original because I obviously already talked about the original, and I kind of wanted to go somewhere different. So the third Nightmare on Elm Street, The Dream Warriors, is always revered as the best of the sequels. I enjoy it. I just want to go back to it. So it's been long overdue. So I kind of thought the fact that you didn't see it yet.
I've never seen it.
So I thought that kind of adds a little bit of fun in this too, because this is going to be your first viewing. So I'm kind of curious to see what you think when you watch it. But to me, I want to go back and revisit the film. Yeah. So I think that's a perfect pick. Something different, you know what I mean? I think it's something that not a lot of people, would really expect to see coming.
There you go, man. So Nightmare on Elm Street 3 Dream Warriors will be next week. I believe we are going to try to do next Wednesday, correct?
Yeah, we're going to try to keep us going every Wednesday at 9 Eastern on on here. So hopefully we get a little schedule padded out here. Yeah,
Bruce Boyd.
yeah, movie is epic. Yeah, it's epic. Like I said, it's to me, it's like when you got Halloween and Nightmare on Elm Street and like Psycho and Scream. I mean, like those are 4 out of 4s. Like this, I mean, it's a fun film. Don't get me wrong, but like 3.5 is kind of where I would go on it just because of that.
Yeah, completely fair.
But it is, like I said, it's like a fan made film.
Yeah,
for somebody who loves horror movies, and I think that's why this movie that is so fun.
Yeah. So guys, remember next week, A Nightmare on Elm Street 3: Dream Warriors. This will be my first time watching it, so I'm excited to actually go and check it out because I've heard great things about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fun film. I mean, it's obviously far from the original. I mean, the original is the upper echelon of the Elm Street franchises. But this is a fun film, and I wouldn't mind looking at the other ones later on down the road just because I really want to. I kind of just want to rewatch the whole franchise in general. So
I think they have them all on HBO Max, so that'd be a good way for me. I think they do.
I got my box set over here on
there you go.
Yeah, back when the first, it was like the first Nightmare on Elm Street box set came out.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right, Russ. So before we get out of here, where can people find you online?
Yeah, you guys can find us Notorious by Chance podcast. I host my boy Chance Ellison from the Schmodown. We just put a poll up for 90 summer blockbusters. I think we're it's pretty much solidified. I think we're gonna be doing Jurassic Park.
Yes.
I believe he got Marisol to come on the show and talk about that. So that'll be really fun because she's a big fan of Jurassic Park. So that'll be really fun to have her talking about, obviously all things 1993 classic Jurassic Park. You guys can also find us on YouTube. Same thing, Notorious by Chance. We really haven't done a whole lot on the YouTube channel. We're really trying to, kind of like this. It's one of those things where you just gotta rip the Band-Aid off. You just gotta do it, man. You just gotta push the ball down the hill, man. And it's we've been talking about trying the different ideas of what we want to do to kind of like not rebrand, but kind of like jumpstart the YouTube channel again. But I think with the whole, with COVID kind of getting settled and kind of getting a little under wraps and stuff like that, with movies finally being released and there's, a lot more restrictions lifted, I think that we can put a lot more content out. I think the last thing that we put on YouTube was talking about the NFL draft. We were just like, just for fun.
Ooh, we may have to relook at Scream.
Yeah, I mean, it's always something that we can always talk about. And definitely last week, Chance and I had Carrie Lane on from Popcorn Talk to do Scream. So that's a fun episode if you guys get a chance to check that out. Ooh, I'm always down to talk Scream, though. I think that's a fun film to revisit so many times.
Oh, yeah.
I just saw Mike Hanley posted something about they will be doing apparently a 4K special 25th anniversary release of Scream coming out in October, perhaps. Yeah, so I don't know if they're gonna pack it with a ton of special features.
I just want to see Scream on the big screen.
See, I saw it I saw it back when it came out in '96, so like that's dating me. But I think I saw it twice. I was the ripe age of 13 to go see that movie, which was perfect.
Perfect age.
It was a perfect age to see it. It was a perfect movie. I think that's why that kind of movie always sticks with me, is just because of the fact I think the perfect age for it.
Yeah, I watched Scream when I was probably a little too young to watch horror movies, if I'm being honest. But it jump-started my love for the horror genre, and for that, it would always be my favorite.
I grew up watching like Freddy, so like to me, I think that's kind of where Nightmare on Elm Street really comes from. Like I literally was like 7, 8 years old watching Freddy Krueger movies. Like, yeah. I mean, again, this is people are probably thinking, what the hell? Like, yeah, I would literally go. Like, I remember, like I would go to my grandmother's house. And we were like we'd rent movies at Giant Eagle. It was a grocery store at the time where they would, when you could actually do that, you could actually, the thrill of seeing a video behind the box was just awesome. That not a lot of people listening to this would actually recognize, including yourself probably, because I don't think, maybe near the tail end of video stores. I
was at the tail end of Blockbuster. We had a Blockbuster in my town for a long time. So.
Okay, and then we had Blockbuster, we had Family Video that just
we had Movie Gallery in Arkansas.
Movie Gallery was the same type of thing. Movie Gallery,
yep.
And there was Family Video, which I went when they were going out of business. And I was buying like Blu-rays and DVDs like a fiend. Like I was, yeah.
Let's see. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. minus Scream 3 because Scream 3 is trash. But
I
outside of
agree
that,
with you.
outside of that one, and Courtney Cox's hair sucks in that movie. It's awful.
Yeah.
So I still
All
think
you need is Scream 1, 2, and 4.
yeah, 1, 2, and 4. I actually just revisited Scream 2, which was great. It was great to watch that one again.
It's a
I
great
really liked
sequel.
it. And there's tons of stars in there that you really notice, like obviously like Sarah Michelle Gellar, Josh Jackson, Josh Duhamel, and stuff like that. Different guys that you see throughout the whole entire like.
We may have to just like rip the Band-Aid off and do a Scream horoscope show eventually. Like do all the movies leading up to Scream 5.
Yeah, I mean we could do that with like one a week or whatever going into it or something like that. Yeah.
Dive into more of the behind the scenes stuff, which I'm knowledgeable as hell about that. I've watched the documentaries probably too many times to count. So
yeah, I mean it's always something we can look at for sure.
Definitely. All right, guys. So if you did enjoy this, hit that like button, subscribe to Nerd Entertainment Network down below. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you guys soon.